manager for the town. And you know, as Ann said, this has been a bit of a journey. You know, when I became a parent more than 30 years ago, I was, you know, navigating many of these things, and the world is not set up for us to, as you probably know as a parent, to make low waste choices, and the forever turn of consumerism and disposability and planned obsolescence makes it really challenging. But the point we want to drive home is that this concept of zero waste is really daunting, but really we're not asking people to be perfect. We're asking more people to try new things and try new ways of thinking about this. So before we get started, I'm actually going to start with a quick demo, only because it'll take most of the time. And so what I have here is kind of my zero waste secret weapon, which is my Instant Pot. I don't know if you have one of these. So bonus, it was used when I got it, so I didn't buy it new. I make this once a week. So these are bulk staples that I get at Eats. Nothing against Annie Caves. They also have wonderful staples, but it just happens to be closer to my house. So I usually mix half and half pearl barley and black beans. It's probably enough. A little bit less than a cup. Throw it in. Water. Importantly, no salt. When you're doing beans, because I interfere with softening. And here's the big, put the top on and hit pressure cook, done. And I walk away from it. The great thing about an Instant Pot is, unlike my many decades of attempting to work with dry beans, you gotta soak them overnight and change the water, and it never quite, and I would do it, and then I would cook them, but they would never quite do it. So it's this hugely long process, and then it would never quite work. It would always be like a little al dente in the end. This, I can come home from work at 5:30 and have black bean soup in basically 40 minutes. Like, it's super, super quick. So this is definitely my secret weapon. So I'm gonna let that go. In a minute or two, you're gonna hear a weird snake hissing sound. Don't be alarmed, there are no snakes here. But this is it's got a little pressure valve that it goes, and then you know that's why it cooks so fast, because it's under pressure. So that's our demo. We'll have black beans at the end. So one of the key ways that you can really get behind, you know, living a more zero waste or a lower waste lifestyle is to actually plan your meals. And so I should have said this at the beginning. When Nina Hall, who is the library director, put these slides together, so bear with me. This is some of her content. And I actually don't have small children at home, so this is not as relevant for my life. I definitely meal plan, but I'm not cooking for a family of 3 or 4 or 5, right? I'm just cooking for myself. But especially when you're cooking for a crowd, you do want to plan out these meals, and it often helps to start a rhythm. Like, if you always are doing a meatless Monday, if you're always doing a Taco Tuesday or a Pizza Friday, you can really do some creative meal planning that ensure that you're not just going to the grocery store and kind of buying whatever, but not having a plan. And then you get home and you're like, oh, I bought these Brussels sprouts, but I don't really know what I'm going to make with it, or I bought this head of spinach. And then in the end, it just goes slimy in the drawer. We've all done that, no judgment. Like, there's nobody in this room who hasn't bought vegetables with good intention that went bad, right? Accordingly, plan your leftovers, and how to utilize those. I love leftovers. I know people who are like, I ate it last night, I can't eat it today. I'm never more excited than when I come home and I remember that I have stuff left over from the night before that was good. I'll eat the same thing, and I will routinely make, even though I'm cooking for myself, like a double batch of something, because I'm happy to eat it every night for like 6 nights. But that's me, that's not everybody. Definitely think about using your freezer. You can make batches of things and have them in your freezer ready to go. Or if you have something that's kind of, you don't think it's going to get made, you know, in time, throw it in the freezer to use for later. And then another key thing I was asked, I didn't know what plan a whatever meal is, that before you go shopping, take stock of what's in your fridge. Can you actually throw together a meal with what's there? So maybe that's meal A, and then the rest of your trip is the other ones. And I'm assuming plan to try a pantry challenge, which I've done before, is like you look in there and you're like, okay, I got a can of chickpeas, I got some tuna, like, you know, like what can I actually make with this? And I think the internet is your friend on this one, because you can say, I've got these 4 weird ingredients. Is there a recipe that I can do for that? I want to say Epicurious has like that feature where you can list what you have and it'll spit out a recipe. Is that correct?
Yeah, even if you like just Google search with like some ingredients that you have, one of the first results will be Epicurious. It brings that up.
Yeah, which is really great because you can, maybe it's fun to even challenge the internet and say, like, can you actually come up with a recipe for these disparate ingredients? But I think from a low waste food perspective, one of the key things that I do, and this is relevant if you're a single person or with lots of kids at home, is really rethink our relationship to packaging. And I can tell from you all, I can see your water bottles. I think you're probably already well on your way to rethinking packaging. I took this picture a couple of years ago because I was trying to really demonstrate this. Like, this was my week of vegetables, and this was my packaging profile, right, for those. And the other key way that I do that, and that many of us do that, is to really try to focus our staples and spices and get them in bulk and not get packaging. So we have lots of examples that you already saw me with my black beans and my barley. But I have these jars and I have an array of things. I've got some quinoa. I've also got cinnamon sticks and even staples like baking soda, right? You can get in bulk. You don't have to buy these things packaged. And where it's really, I think, a kind of a steal is in the spices, right? So I find that they're a lot more affordable to get spices in bulk, but Anne was pointing out to me the other great benefit of them is that you can get just a little bit. If you're making a weird recipe, I made one the other day. It was like some kind of a fish with sumac. I don't know. I didn't have any sumac. So I went and got, I think, like just a couple of tablespoons of it because that's what it called for. The recipe was not for me. I'm not going to make it again, but I didn't end up buying a whole thing of that. So that was great. You know, relative to how much waste when you're buying, you know, beans and cans and whatnot, you know, from a price comparison standpoint, they're roughly equivalent. So you're not going to save a ton of money on this, but this is a huge amount of energy that goes into producing it this way, shipping it, and then just the embodied energy of the packaging itself. Even though steel cans are recyclable, from my point of view, like when you're recycling at the end of something, you kind of already made a bad, or you could have made a better consumer choice, because that necessitated you recycling this at the end, whereas this does not require any recycling at the end. Because you can actually take your own containers too. I don't know if it's up there. Yeah, I don't know if you have any experience with this. And we've got some examples here of just containers that people bring in to eat in an array of sizes. They wash and sanitize them there. Do you know what a tear is? Yeah, they put the tear on them. And for the folks who are watching at home, a tear is just what this container physically weighs. So if you get charged per pound, you don't get charged for the amount that this weighs. I mean, you know, for things that are plastic, it's not as big of a deal, but for a glass jar that weighs quite a bit, you know, it's important that you have the tear on there. So even if you forget your stuff, you can just roll in and get everything you want. You don't have to use the plastic or paper bags. You can just use those. And I often will wash them and return them. So I've seen numerous things crossed out on the tear. And how you do that is very simple. And, you know, for those of you who are not experienced with this, there's no need to feel intimidated. You just get a container. And I asked Eats if I could borrow this. They were very kind to let me. And you know, just fill her out as much as you want, as much or as little as you want. Sometimes if it's something that I'm not sure if I want, like a granola I've never tried, I just get a tiny bit, try it. They've got some bulk shampoos that I tried the other day. I got like enough to wash my hair twice. And I was like, I like this shampoo. I'll get it again. But you can't do that in like the normal store. You can't just take that much. So, and then you just make sure oh, here we go. The snake's coming. You hear it? Can you hear it? Here we go. That was the big exciting moment. And the only other thing to know is that you just need to make sure the tear will already be on there, and just write the PLU, which who knows what PLU stands for? Some kind of code. It's just the 4-digit number, or in the cases of the spices, a 6-digit number, so they know what it is. And then I'll often write the name on it too, in case there's any confusion. take it up to the counter, they'll check you out, they'll take off the tear. It's very easy. Also, it's a great way to go lower waste with food is to shop at the farmer's market. This is a great thing you can do with kids. You all probably already do this. But also, to the degree that stores will let you do this, it's been trickier post-COVID, but you could take your own containers in to the coffee shop. I think they're starting to allow folks to do that again. I have not had experience of bringing a mason jar to the ice cream shop. Apparently that's a thing. And I also tended to, I know this is being recorded, but I would, back when the Antipasto bar was open at Kroger, I went rogue and just started bringing my own containers. And I did ask permission and they told me no, and I did it anyway. And nobody bothered me at checkout. The only downside of that is they don't have a tear system. So I would bring the lightest possible containers that I had. But since COVID, they have shut down the Antipasto bar. You can't self-serve anymore. So it's all in single-use plastic. So that's just, I'm not buying those anymore, which is a bummer. I really love those spicy green olives. I was kind of obsessed with those. And of course, you know, when you're out and about, it's really great to have a packet of to-go reusable container, straw, napkin. I tend to have those in my backpack at all times for impromptu curry or something I need to eat on the go. And
We have some giveaways for us.
yeah, if you don't already have one. So when it comes to school lunches, it's kind of staggering how much waste goes into that. If you've ever been in your kid's school and seen the overflowing trash cans, it's pretty discouraging. And, you know, just doing the math of how many school days on average there are, you know, over the period of time that those kids are in school, those 13 years, they're going to eat north of 2,000 lunches at school. The average school lunch produces 5 to 6, sometimes more, just single-use packaging items. Some of them you can see here: a bag of chips, a juice box, a little fruit cup, a Ziploc for a sandwich, and maybe some other like little bar snack. Can't see what that looks like, a Nutri-Grain bar. So when you do the math on that, I mean, you're looking at close to 13,000 pieces of trash that wind up in the landfill. They're not recyclable generally. No, you're not in trouble. We're all learning and growing together. But also buying these things or making these things at home and packaging them up in reusable container can save you quite a bit of money over time. So the number one thing I think you can do when it comes to lunches is avoid whatever you can, those single serving snack packages, or use containers you already have versus Ziploc. So, you know, something like this is impractical. It's heavy in glass, but there are lots of durable containers that are made for sandwiches and snacks. I don't know much about this furoshiki wrapping, but it looks like this kind of Japanese art of wrapping different things. And it was a cool link. We could share it with you afterwards. I looked at it for a little while. I was like, yeah, that looks almost like art. It was like origami for wrapping sandwiches and different things, but it looked kind of fun. Clearly, you know, use a reusable water bottle or thermos, but you can also throw a cloth napkin in your kid's lunchbox, and encourage them to use some of the containers to bring home the banana peel or orange peel or whatever it is, or the bit of uneaten sandwich to compost at home. And I'll give a plug for these as napkins, although it's not much of a plug. I don't know where they came from. My sister-in-law gave these to me years ago, but they're really small pieces of flannel that are just serged on the edge. And I use these for everything. And they're kind of, I think these would be perfect for a kid's school lunch. So yeah, I love those things. I use them all the time. So the other big area of waste, shocking no one, are back to school shopping, right? It is just, I looked yesterday on the website of the sort of trends over time of what parents are expected to spend on back to school shopping between school supplies and clothes and backpacks and other accoutrements, and it's really exploded in the last couple of decades. And you know, the 2020 projections is that, you know, families will spend $37 billion on back to school shopping this year. And you know, kids get bigger, they need more clothes, you know, things do break down. It's not that you don't never need to spend money, but spending almost $900 a household a year, that's a huge chunk of change. And you know, I think we've really built a culture that every year, every kid needs entirely new everything. I'm sympathetic to that because I was an absolute school supply nut. Like I love that feeling of getting my new school supplies and setting up my notebooks. I think there are ways to, recapture that and get your kids excited for school without buying a bunch of single-use stuff. And really driving that culture of reuse what still has life in it and use in it. So there's plenty there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask Juanita, since she's so sick at school, I don't know, maybe you know, but it looks like Montgomery County Schools has really cut back on what parents have to buy.
Oh, that's good. Because there was pushback years ago. I remember my kids weren't in school at this point, but I remember hearing from parents like these lists are getting ridiculous. And for families that are lower income, it's unobtainable. Like it's really not okay.
So I'm an art teacher at Falling Branch Elementary School, and so the waste is still there, right? Because we now have some grant where the county pays for those supplies, so we have to deal with Office Depot where teachers can buy certain things. So I think it's like the list given to parents cannot be more than $25.
Oh,
So
thank
that
goodness.
has improved for the families, but again, that idea of waste is
It's still there. So
Still
they've solved one problem, but maybe
Yeah.
not the larger problem.
Right, but some of it is no longer in the control of the parents.
The parents, that's.
Because I know I used to get frustrated, you have to buy 24 count crayons this year and then 64 count crayons this year. And so it was hard even to do what they asked you to do
Right.
and reuse things because it changed so much. And that, a lot of that is gone, but I wasn't sure how it was working.
So maybe
There's
we
like
need-
no crayons, no pencils, no glue sticks, like in elementary school and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know how it works.
Yeah, it's all still being provided. The classroom teachers figure out exactly what they need, and then they work out a deal with Office Depot where things are much less expensive. And obviously, Steve does pretty well too.
I was hoping that maybe there was less waste because there's not 20 students buying.
Right. Like you would think like for a classroom, you don't need 36 rulers. You could have a pack of, you know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
like there's more of a, but I think maybe we need another slide in here, which is to talk about like engaging your school district to encourage them to like, let's not be wasteful in the way we do this. And I think my next slide might illustrate this point. Okay, so you're an art teacher, you are well aware of the mountains of paper. And when my kids were in school, anytime something came home that was homework or any sort of piece of paper that wasn't printed on both sides, I held on to it and used it for printer paper. Just this year, my daughter's 25 years old. I used the last piece of homework to print something. So there's the homework side. Note she did get 9 out of 10 on this quiz, so that's pretty good. But I used it to print a note-taking page for a meeting I was leading. And I was a little sad, like, oh, it's Annie's last piece of homework, but it took me that long to get through the pile of homework.
There is a lot less of that now too, that they have their own computers. I mean,
Yeah.
There were, high school, almost everything was big. Online.
And I don't think when my kids were in school, they were doing much of any of submitting stuff online. So yeah, so that's hopefully trending in a better direction. Other important ways is to, this is the thing that kind of, I think, seems kind of like a no-brainer. Kids grow really fast. Even if you're made of money, like kids grow out of stuff so fast. They're hard on clothes. There's no real reason to buy everything new. And there's such great options. We have such good local consignment shops. I didn't know about consignment sales. Anne was telling me about these, but they're sort of like between a yard sale and a consignment shop. They're more like a pop-up kind of a thing.
Yeah, I actually organized one at our church, but there's a bunch of big ones in Roanoke too. So,
So they operate kind of like a flea market, but around a specific thing? Like,
sort of, it's like a giant multi-family yard sale.
okay,
Like all kids stuff, and the families get a big chunk of the money as consigners.
right, okay.
So you get good prices, good quality, and save over some of the consignment shops. But yeah, it's definitely a pop-up event.
Yeah, for sure. And, and then of course, thrifting is actually, for my mind, like a fun activity with kids. Like sometimes when my kids were squirrely and bored, we would just go to the thrift store and I'd give them, you know, a couple bucks each and be like, and I didn't feel like I was contributing to a waste culture because when they were bored or done with it, it just went straight back to the thrift store, you know, and it's just driving this positive thing in the community too, because then that money is used to support programs that, you know, that are needed in the community. I got this gem at the thrift store, I don't know how long ago. I was going to demo this as well. This is my popcorn maker. In fact, let me just do this right now. I might have to use my lovely assistant Anne to help me. But instead of the sort of the single-use plastic, you know, which also I've heard that whatever the oils that are in here when they aerosolize are actually kind of bad for you. Chemicals. Right? I make this all the time. Here's how it works. I'm just gonna have you put it in the microwave for me. Take a little, I use avocado oil. It's kind of a neutral oil. A little bit of salt, throw it around. And let's all hope that the microwave shrink here is roughly equivalent.
I was thinking
Because mine goes in my microwave for 2 minutes and 33 seconds.
Okay.
Is the sweet spot. So we might burn the popcorn. Let's all find out together. But like that's a completely zero waste snack that I make, and it's far, far healthier. You know, and I get this popcorn at Eats. What is it? $2.25 a pound, right? I mean, it's really affordable and much healthier. And you can control the amount of salt and fat in it as well. So, you know, I usually just throw. Also got to Eats the what's this stuff called? Nutritional yeast. Yeah, I throw that on there with a little bit of salt. Sometimes I put in like different stuff, but I love it. Another great option actually coming up this Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, is swapping. The library is hosting a kid stuff swap this Saturday here. And so if you're interested in that, you can come bring stuff to swap. You show up, I think 11:30 to help set up, and it'll go on from 12 to 3. So that seems like a really great.
And you don't have to bring stuff in order to take stuff.
Oh, cool. And then also you may or may not be aware of the Buy Nothing groups that are on Facebook. Those I belong to the one that's in my. I haven't been brave enough to post yet because I feel intimidated. So I want someone to walk me through how to do it. But those are great because that actually has an ethic of a gifting economy, where nobody asks for money. It's just like, I have something to offer. And it's not the culture, but it's not first come, first serve. It's, you know, you sort of let something simmer for a little while, and you're trying to develop almost like community and relationships around that in these sort of gift exchanges where nothing is expected in return, but it's just, you know, for the whole community. Lots of ideas for lower waste. This is another one of those things where at the end of my kids' birthday parties, it just felt so discouraging, the amount of trash. Or when they would go to other kids' birthday parties, you know, they would just come home with a bag of garbage, you know, just stuff that was like, I don't know, like little trinkets and the goodie bags. There's so many good options to lower your waste profile for kids' celebrations. But really, I have nothing more to say other than Google is your friend. I mean, you can Google low waste or zero waste goodie bags, activities, party decorations. There's so many great ways to lower, particularly the plastic profile of these things. There's also opportunities to do things that are really cool ideas for making like native flower seed bombs out of you know, clay and mud. Have that as an activity, plenty of mess, great, love it. Right, and then send those back with the kids as part of their party paper bags, is something that they could do in their community. Beyond just birthdays, you know, thinking about other celebrations, holidays, Christmas or Hanukkah, if you celebrate that. Yeah, we've got cups over, we've got paper cups over there if anyone wants some popcorn. Y'all want some popcorn? Here, let me put some of the nutritional yeast on it because right now it's pretty plain.
So we do the nutritional yeast and add a little permission.
It looks a little bit hard, but we just give it put the top on.
It was still popular, but yeah.
So was a year or two ago, Sustainable Blacksburg put together a gift giving guide that lists a whole bunch of different experiences, charitable gifts, secondhand gifts, just ways to show appreciation and care for others through gift giving without just producing more stuff that's going to ultimately wind up in a landfill. So we really encourage you to take a look at that. This time of year, popsicles, y'all fans. And ice cream, you know, if you go out to the ice cream shop, opt for the cone versus a cup. There's just then you get to eat more good stuff to eat, right? And then I feel like there's been such great innovation in the silicone world of all of these things. There are so many great recipes to make different ice pops and popsicles at home. So I really recommend getting a set of these silicone molds to get through the summer, because we're not trying to say no more popsicles. That would be mean of us. Oh, we have hello, friend.
I'm gonna do that and unmute.
Can you mute our friend? I didn't know if she had a question or not.
Yeah.
And then here's some great, I could stand to get a lot better on this one, is thinking about how to better utilize still edible but vegetable scraps. So Munina, I think, has a cool idea where she has a Ziploc in the freezer, one to keep vegetable peelings and scraps for making broth when it fills up, and then a separate bag for fruit that's kind of on the edge, or vegetable scraps, and keep those together to make smoothies. But there's also entire cookbooks that are dedicated to food scrap recipes. The one I found yesterday that I'm intrigued by is radish green pesto. I've never, there's all these tops of things that I never knew I could eat. I've just recently learned that carrot tops make a pesto, you know, right? Like there's all of these cool things you can do. And so I want to try the apple scrap jelly. I'm not so jazzed about the hot dog bun French toast, but the radish green pesto sounds amazing. I'm going to definitely give that a whirl. And then I think, Brigitte, are you going to demo for us, or shall I show the video? Yeah, and then lastly, another thing is there is a certain amount of food waste that you're not going to be able to do anything with. So clearly the solution is to not send that to the landfill if you can at all avoid it. And we have a little video from our friend here who's going to talk to us about that.
Full-time kid with Maya. Hi, I'm Maya. Do you want to help out the planet? Everyone wants to help out the planet. You've probably recycled or turned off the faucet while brushing your teeth. Well, today I'm going to teach you how to keep garbage out of a landfill. Not all trash is garbage. Plant scraps, fruit or vegetable scraps, paper, or other organic material can be used to make compost. Compost is a great way to feed any hungry plants inside your garden. Compost is a home to many tiny little animals called bacteria. Bacteria help break down plants once you're done with them. For this project, you will need an empty 2-liter bottle, some dirt, not potting soil, plant scraps, shredded paper, a spray bottle, a pair of scissors, and a push pin. To build a composter, the first thing you need to do is rinse your bottle and take off any labels. Next, we have a grown-up cut the top of the bottle and, using a push pin, poke some holes on the bottom for drainage. Place the bottle on a plastic tray or plate and start adding the dirt, shredded paper, and some old leaves. Wet the base layer of items using your spray bottle. We don't want to drown it, we just want to get them a little wet. Make sure to keep your composter inside a plastic tray or plate so it doesn't move. Now, add the fresher items like vegetables, scraps of food, grass, or eggshells. Once that's all in there, we place the composter in an area where we'll get some nice sunlight. You could place the cut-off bottle top upside down like this on top of your composter, and this will act as a funnel when you are watering. Each day you want to add water and stir around the contents so the bacteria can find some new food. When not in use, place a kitchen towel over the composter. As the days go on, the bacteria will start to help the fresher items decompose, and all the items will eventually turn into compost. Feel free to add items as the days go on. Remember that it will take time for new items to decompose, so be patient. When the food looks ready, take it outside and feed to your garden. And there you have just made some healthy snacks for your garden. Okay, that's our show. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Compost is a great way to feed any hungry animals.
Oh, that was super cute. I've never tried tabletop composting. It does look like fun. for me, the value of that is not that you could really compost to scale, but that you can engage your kids in seeing that process and understanding what it might look like to have a larger scale compost. So we have Viverjita, our board member, created these low waste bingo sheets. So I'm gonna let you all have some of these. Do you want to take these over to your brother, sweetie? See who gets to bingo first. We've got a lot of items on here, just different ways to shift more of your behaviors and choices towards zero waste. And after over time, these will become just the. What's on the other side?
Oh, I was just checking out the map. Is that was significant or anything?
Oh yeah, this is me at every meeting, and I have to say I work for the town, and I'll often have meetings with like the town manager or town council members, and they've learned to flip it over because they're like, what is this going to be? Carol's going to show up in this meeting with something on the other side. And I like that they have a good sense of humor about it. It's not considered unprofessional. It's just the way I do work, So, and with that,
I have trouble with our printer jamming. Tried to.
I have a pretty good printer.
Paper. So.
All right, so we have, in closing, we encourage you to check out the Sustainable Blacksburg website to see lots of the other resources that we only just scratched the surface of. And before we open up for discussion to talk about things that you do in your own lives to reduce household waste or make your household low waste, I do want to point out, in case anybody needs to take off, that there are some upcoming events tonight at Rising Silo. Are you all aware of Science on Tap?
I'm not been able to make it to that, but we get our energies from playing with Frank throwing, so we go there a bunch.
Yeah, so the fourth Wednesday of every month, the same day that we do our lunch and learn, we typically give a shout out to our good friends at the Virginia Tech Center for Communicating Science. And so Science on Tap brings in usually a Virginia Tech researcher, not always, sometimes just a community member who has expertise in an area, and they speak on that topic. And it's geared towards a non-academic audience, right? And so people can go get some food or beverage at Rising Silo and just hear about some element of science. And I kind of like to go when I even don't know what the topic is about, just to see, because it's always a good time. But the topic tonight might be particularly interesting for children because it's a reptile show and tell with a Virginia Tech researcher who does, I guess, reptile research. So he's going to have some critters there. I have heard there's going to be a snake that is foldable, so I'm pretty excited about that. And then here are some other events we've got coming up. As we noted before, there's going to be the Kid Stuff Swap on Saturday. Next month's Lunch and Learn is going to be on the topic of what's new with electric vehicles, and there's quite a bit that's new. And then towards the end of the month, end of next month, Renew the New, which is a big regional effort to clean up the New River. It usually brings out hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. It's going to be on the 27th. And then the next in the series of sustainable garden tours that we've been doing this year will be at Shadow Lake Village. And that's going to be a neighborhood scale tour of sustainable gardening and landscape practices there. So with that, does anybody have any questions or comments?
There is